This is Jonathan. He's a new student of mine. He's been playing the game for about 3 years, semi-regularly, and his shooting score is around 120 consistently. He's experiencing a lot of issues around ball striking. Big focus for us here has been trying to get consistent strike with irons, as he's got no control of distance the ball's going, and no control of the direction it's going in either. And a big part of that is due to how he creates his impact. At the point of impact, he gets here. So you'll notice a couple of things. So number one, you'll note that the club head is actually starting to just pass his hands here. It's starting to move ahead of the hands. And notably, the angle that's created with the wrists here, if we just zoom in there, you'll see that the left wrist and club shaft, the connection here, you'll see that we're getting a little bit into extension with his left wrist. So both of these things make the golf club travel too far upward and make the club too long, causing it to go very much into the ground early before the ball, or he pulls it up and he catches it very much ball and catches it really thin. So that's where a lot of his issues were coming from, this impact here. So our goal for the session was to improve this and improve quality of strike. Now, for us to improve this impact position here and get him striking it better, we actually needed to work on setup, as his current setup would not allow him to create the desired impact we were looking for. I'll explain why. Jonathan is a classic case of a player who stands far too close to the golf ball. So if you note the distance here between the top of the grip and our belt buckle just here, we have very little room in this region. Now, as a consequence of standing so close to it, he then at setup has tended to put his pelvis really far back. So he's sat really far back with his hips into his heels, and his weight now is right into his heels. As a reference point, we use this red line, and generally speaking, we want it to be dissecting right through the middle of the pelvis. And you'll see here how it's a little this way. This tells us he's got a lot of body weight back into his heels. Now, as he starts to move in his backswing and pivot, you'll note that his tailbone here, his back end of his hips, moves away from the green line. So the center of his hips, his body, is moving closer to the golf ball now at the top of the backswing than where it was at the start. Now, this presents loads of issues, mainly because he stood so close to it initially. Now that he's moved even closer, he's got very little room to get his arms down here to get impact. Players tend to naturally move closer with their pelvis like this when they have way too much weight in their heels at setup, because as they pivot, they want to be balanced in the center of their feet. And this is what we see here with Jonathan. As he now brings the golf club down to impact, he has very little room here. He is forced to dump out this angle between the left arm and the club shaft just here to try and get the club into him. And that causes loads of strike issues. So we had to look at changing setup to then give him a chance to create a more suitable impact and strike it better. Now, on the left, we've got before, on the right, we've got after, and we've made a really key setup change here. So you'll notice the red line I've drawn in both images goes right from the back of his armpit here straight down. Now, what you'll notice is that on the left, it's much farther back in his body, so much closer to the heels. On the right, it's much closer to the toes. We have introduced him standing much farther away from the golf ball here, as you'll see in this region. We've also looked to try and just lower the club shaft a little more, and in doing so, we've brought his upper body much more forward. So he's now hinged a little bit more from his hips. He's got a bit more weight to the toes here at setup, and he has moved his body here a little bit further away. So we're in a much better place, much more appropriate. From the face on, we've completely changed his stance. So we've brought his feet much wider. You'll note how further apart they are here on the right, which is after, compared to before. Now, both of these setup changes, the distance from the ball, the hinge over, the width of the stance, all of this helps him to create that more suitable impact. But we still have to then work on the movement itself to try and get it more appropriate. And that's exactly what we've done. After spending plenty of time getting comfortable with setup and making sure that this was drilled in wonderfully, we've then actually had a discussion here around what great finish position looks like. Now, this is with a goal. If we can get him into a better finish position, we have a much better chance of creating a more suitable impact. And a big part of his issue with his movement pattern previously, after we dealt with setup, he's never really learned to engage his body through impact, and is very reliant on his wrists and arms to create speed. So we've simply focused here on creating a more suitable finish position where his body's more rotated around, His chest is right round to the target and his club shaft is right out in front of him. And we've really tried to focus on getting this position here. So on the left we've got before, on the right we've got after. As he now actually brings the club into impact, you'll see how different this release starts to look. It's looking much stronger. So because we've taken his feet wider, he can now get more on his front side. He can get more over this way. Great. That helps us shift the point he strikes the ground much later, improving strike drastically. Secondly, because we are now working into this finish, where we've got the hands way further away from us, we're getting the body moving round more. We are encouraging a much more appropriate finish, and as a consequence of that, impact has improved drastically. So for probably the first time that he's played the game, he's started to actually consistently achieve ball turf contact from the middle of the face and was hitting some wonderful golf shots. I was really pleased with how this turned out. I thought he did a brilliant job because we did actually do quite a lot here and he's taken on so well. It was a delight working with him and an absolute pleasure seeing him come on so much in the one session that we've had. I'm confident if he can stick to working on these changes that we've made and make sure that he has feedback when he practices, which is so key. Otherwise, without feedback, how do we know if we're improving? We've given that to him with a couple of different training aids, actually. He's going to improve loads, and I'm confident he'll be breaking 100 within a very short time frame. If you're ready to level up your game, book in for a lesson today. I can't wait to get started, and I'm here to help. Take care. Thanks so much for watching.